Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello students, this is Professor Ravin Zugade from Department of Chemistry, Rashtrasant Tukadoji Maharaj Nagpur University, and we are discussing about coordination chemistry. In this module, we are dividing the module into 4 parts. In the first part, that is in lecture 1, we have discussed about introduction to complexes and Werner's theory, along with the important terminology used in coordination chemistry. In this lecture, that is lecture 2, we will be discussing about valence bond theory and its drawbacks. In lecture 3, we will be focusing on IUPAC nomenclature and chelates, and in lecture 4, we will be discussing about isomerism in complexes. So let us start our lecture 2 with valence bond theory. As we know that every theory is based on certain postulates. Similarly, valence bond theory by Pauling and Slater was applied to complexes, and it is again based on certain assumptions. It assumes that each metal ion makes available empty orbitals equal to its coordination number. Now in the previous lecture, we have seen what is the coordination number. It is the number of monodentate ligands which are associated with the metal or the number of coordinate bonds the metal ion forms. That is called as the coordination number. So if the coordination number is 4, the metal ion will make available 4 empty orbitals. If the coordination number is 6, it will make available 6 empty orbitals. Then these orbitals will undergo hybridization. Now we know that when there is a hybridization, equal number of orbitals having exactly same energy are formed. It means that if 4 empty orbitals are mixed, 4 hybrid orbitals will be formed. Each ligand contains at least one orbital which contains a lone pair of electrons. It means that there is empty hybrid orbital with the metal and there is a lone pair containing orbital with the ligand. Then the empty hybrid orbital of the metal ion overlaps with the filled orbital of the ligand to form a special type of bond which is called as a coordinate covalent bond. Coordinate because in this case the metal orbital is empty, ligand orbital is completely filled. It is covalent because it is formed by overlapping of orbitals. That's why the word coordinate covalent bond was introduced by valence bond theory. And since hybrid orbitals have definite orientation in the space, the complexes are found to have a definite geometry. Now if we try to represent this is the empty hybrid orbital of the metal which is having no electron, and since it is a hybrid orbital, it is oriented in one particular direction, and there is a filled orbital of ligand which contains a lone pair of electrons. So there is a overlapping of orbitals between empty hybrid orbital of metal and filled orbital of ligand to form a coordinate covalent bond of this particular type. Now in this case, there is an electron transfer from ligand to the metal. Now we know that every hybridization has a geometry associated with it. For example, if the coordination number of metal is 2, the hybridization which is taking place is sp and the geometry of the complex will be linear. If the coordination number is 3, the hybridization will be sp2 and the geometry will be trigonal planar. If coordination number is 4, now there are 2 different hybridizations possible, sp3 and dsp2. If the hybridization is sp3, the geometry is tetrahedral, and if the hybridization is dsp2, the geometry is square planar, because you can see that in case of d sp2, the orbital which is from the d orbitals is either dxy or dx square minus y square, and sp2 is a planar hybridization. So as a result, all the 4 orbitals are in the plane, and so square planar geometry is formed. Similarly, if the coordination number is 5, then we can have two possible hybridizations, either dsp2 or sp3d. If it is dsp3, then trigonal bipyramidal geometry is formed, and if it is sp3d, then square pyramidal geometry is formed. If the coordination number is 6, then 2 hybridizations are possible, d2sp3 or sp3d2. When I say d2sp3, it means that I am talking about inner d orbital followed by s and p, whereas when I say sp3d2 hybridization, it is the s, p and outer d orbitals which are involved. So in both the cases, the geometry is octahedral. Now let us consider the complexes with coordination number 6. Now we have seen that whenever there is a coordination number 6, the 2 possible hybridizations are either d2sp3 or sp3d2. If the complex is formed by d2sp3 hybridization, it is said to be inner orbital complex. Why inner orbital? Because inner d orbitals are taking part in the hybridization. Which inner d orbitals? We know that the transition metals have an outer configuration n-1d, ns and np. Generally this ns and np are vacant, while n-1d are partially filled in most of the transition metal ions. Now if inner d orbitals are used, for example 3d 4s 4p or 4d 5s 5p or 5d 6s 6p, then in that case the complex will be called as an inner orbital complex. Whereas if it is sp3d2 hybridization, the complex is said to be outer orbital complex, because outer d orbital is used. For example, if we are talking about 4s, 4p and 4d, similarly 5s, 5p and 5d and so on. So the coordination number 6, we can have d2sp3 or sp3d2, inner orbital complex or outer orbital complex. Consider the case of d1, d2 and d3 configurations. Now in all of them, they are having 2 vacant d orbitals at least. For example, in d1 configuration there are 4 d orbitals available. In d2 configuration there are 3 vacant d orbitals available. In d3 configuration there are 2 vacant d orbitals available. And since vacant d orbitals are available in the n-1 d subshell, hence always the complex will be inner orbital complex with d2sp3 hybridization. Hence there will be formation of or combination of these 2 orbitals from this d and s and p orbitals from the outer shell. For example, if it is 3d, then 3d will contribute 2 orbitals, 4s and 4p contribute 4 orbitals, thereby giving total 6 orbitals, leading to coordination number 6. Consider an example of complex CrNH36 3 positive. Now the central metal ion is chromium. The outer electronic configuration of chromium is 3d5, 4s1, 4p0. Now in case of chromium 3 positive, 3 electrons are lost, 1 from 4s and 2 from 3d. Thereby the outer electronic configuration is now 3d3. Now since it is 3d3, it means that 2 d orbitals are available in chromium 3+, whereas 4s and 4p are also vacant, so they can undergo d2sp3 hybridization, leading to formation of 6 hybrid orbitals. Since 6 orbitals are mixing, 6 hybrid orbitals will be formed, and each of them will be called as d2sp3 hybrid orbital. and they will form a complex with ligand ammonia. Ammonia will donate its lone pairs to all of these orbitals and it will overlap. So each ammonia ligand will overlap with each of the hybrid orbital, thereby forming a complex. And since inner d orbitals are used, it will be called as inner orbital complex. Since there are 3 unpaired electrons, you can see over here in 3D subshell, it is paramagnetic in nature. Now consider D4 configuration. Now in case of D4, the things are not that simple because there are no 2 d orbitals available. There is only one d orbital available. Now if we want to form a complex with coordination number 6, either it should be D2sp3 or sp3d2. In this case, the governing factor is the ligand. If the ligand is a weak ligand, then it will look for the d orbitals available in 3D. But since the d orbitals are not available, 2 d orbitals are not available in 3D subshell, then it will definitely go for the 2 orbitals from 4D subshell, thereby forming an outer orbital complex with hybridization sp3d2. Now in case of sp3d2, the 6 hybrid orbitals are formed and the outer orbital complex is formed. This complex is called as a high spin complex because there are as many number of unpaired electrons in the complex as present in the plain metal ion. Before forming the complex, the metal was having 4 unpaired electrons and still it is having 4 unpaired electrons even after forming the complex. Such complex is said to be high spin complex. But if the ligand is strong, then it will make the electrons from 3D subshell to undergo pairing in 3D itself. So it will make this electron to jump from 3D to inner 3D orbital, thereby pairing it up in the d subshell and vacating 2 d orbitals which are required for d2sp3 hybridization. And since 2 orbitals are available from d2 from 3D, then d2sp3 hybridization can take place, leading to formation of inner orbital complex. Now you will find that in this case there is one electron getting paired up in the 3D subshell. As a result, the total number of unpaired electrons have reduced from 4 to 2, and hence the complex is a low spin type of complex. In case of D5 configuration, again if the ligand is a weak ligand, then it cannot make available the orbitals in 3D. As a result, it will try to go for outer orbital complex formation by using 4D orbitals undergoing sp3d2 hybridization. And since sp3d2 hybridization is there, the unpaired electrons which are there in 3D subshell remain as it is, and the complex is said to be outer orbital complex or high spin complex. Now in this case there are 5 unpaired electrons. They remain as it is, intact, similar to what is present in free metal ion. But if the ligand is a strong ligand, then it makes the electrons in 3D to undergo pairing, thereby vacating 2 d orbitals in the 3D subshell, and now it can undergo d2sp3 hybridization leading to formation of inner orbital complex. And in this complex, since the number of unpaired electrons have reduced from 5 in the free metal ion to only 1 in the complex, hence it is said to be a low spin complex. With a D6 configuration. Now in D6 configuration there are 4 unpaired electrons and there is no vacancy present over here. So 2d orbitals are not available for hybridization in 3D. Hence, when a weak ligand approaches, the weak ligands make what is called as the outer orbital complex with sp3d2 hybridization. What is a outer orbital complex is formed, and this is said to be high spin complex, which is having same number of unpaired electrons as that of the isolated metal ion. Now this is paramagnetic in nature since there are 4 unpaired electrons in 3D subshell. But if the ligand is strong, then again it will make the electrons to pair up within 3D subshell, thereby making vacancy of 2d orbitals in 3D subshell, undergoing D2 sp3 hybridization, thereby forming inner orbital complex. Now this inner orbital complex is a low spin complex, and you can see that in D6 system there is no unpaired electron as all the electrons are paired up over here, and similarly all the electrons will be paired up in the complex also. As a result, the low spin complex in D6 configuration will be diamagnetic in nature. We know that whenever all the electrons are paired up, the species is diamagnetic. If there is unpaired electron, the species is paramagnetic in nature. In case of D7, D8, D9 and D10 configuration, even if a stronger ligand approaches, it cannot make 2 vacancies in D subshell. As a result, whether the ligand is strong or weak, it has to undergo sp3d2 hybridization, that is outer orbital complex formation. So in short we can say that D1, D2, D3 configuration always inner orbital complex, D7, D8, D9, D10 configuration always a outer orbital complex with sp3d2 hybridization. Coming to complexes with coordination number 4. Now in case of coordination number 4, the 2 possible hybridizations are sp3 and dsp2. sp3 hybridization, the complexes will be called as the outer orbital complexes because ns and np orbitals are used. Whereas in case of dsp2 can be considered as an inner orbital complex because inner d orbitals are used with n-1d, ns and np orbitals involved in hybridization. Consider a D8 system. D8 and D9 are the common systems which form complexes with coordination number 4. So if you have a D8 configuration, then if a weak ligand approaches, the weak ligand will go for formation of outer orbital complex with sp3 hybridization. And if sp3 hybridization is there, the outer orbital complex with tetrahedral geometry is formed because sp3 hybridization leads to a geometry which is tetrahedral in nature. But if the ligand is a strong ligand, then it can evacuate this orbital by shifting electron from one d orbital to another d orbital. So that is, shifting of d orbital will take place within 3D subshell, and hence there is a vacancy over there, and now it can undergo dsp2 hybridization, which is an inner orbital complex, and dsp2 hybridization leads to square planar geometry. So the complex will be square planar if the ligand is strong. The complex will be tetrahedral if the ligand is weak. Consider an example of NiCl4 2 negative. Now this NiCl4 has a nickel central metal ion with electronic configuration 3d8 4s2, and in +2 oxidation state it is a D8 system. 2 electrons from 4s are lost. Now since chloro ligand or chloride ligand is a weak ligand, it will prefer forming the outer orbital complex with sp3 hybridization, and since sp3 hybridization is there, it leads to tetrahedral geometry of NiCl4 2 negative complex. Whereas since there are 2 unpaired electrons in this complex, it is paramagnetic in nature. If we consider NiCN4 complex, now cyanide is a strong ligand, and since cyanide is a strong ligand, it makes the electron undergo pairing from 3d or within 3d orbital. As a result, this orbital is now empty and it can undergo dsp2 hybridization, leading to formation of a square planar geometry. As a result, NiCN4 2 negative is a square planar complex, and since there is no unpaired electron in the complex, it is diamagnetic in nature. Consider the drawbacks of valence bond theory. Now, even if valence bond theory can very well explain the properties of many complexes on the basis of inner orbital and outer orbital complexes and on the basis of concept of hybridization, but still there are some lacuna. We will discuss them one by one. So, this valence bond theory has always given much more importance to the metal ion and hybridization in the metal ion. The orbitals of ligand which are involved in bonding have never been considered by valence bond theory. Secondly, the relative stability of the complexes has not been discussed by valence bond theory. Taking an example, for example, if we consider Fe3 positive ion, it forms octahedral as well as tetrahedral complexes. But if we consider Cr3 positive ion, it forms only octahedral complexes, it never forms tetrahedral complexes. The reason for this cannot be explained on the basis of valence bond theory. Thirdly, there is a well-known tendency of Cu2 positive ion that it has a tendency to form octahedral complexes but with distorted geometry. Even if all the 6 ligands are same, copper 2 positive has a tendency to show distorted octahedral geometry. Now, why copper 2 plus forms distorted octahedral complexes has not been explained by valence bond theory. We will explain this property in crystal field theory. Similarly, valence bond theory fails to explain the absorption spectra of complexes. Now, it has been observed that most of the complexes are colored in nature. Now, why the complexes are colored? Because of electronic transition. Now, whenever there is going to be electronic transition, it has to have very small energy gap between the ground state and excited state. Then only the absorption will take place in the visible region of the spectrum. Hence, it is expected that the transition should be such that energy gap between the ground state and excited state should be very small. In case of complexes, if there are unpaired electrons or electrons in the d orbitals, there has to be a dd transition. But according to valence bond theory, the 5d orbitals are degenerate, and if the 5d orbitals are degenerate, then there cannot be any dd transition. Kinetics of various reactions involving complexes has not been explained by valence bond theory. Various reactions involve complex formation and complex dissociation. Also, the substitution and elimination reactions in complexes, their theory has not, or their kinetics has not been successfully explained by valence bond theory. According to valence bond theory, this CuNH3 4 times 2 positive, that is tetramine copper 2 complex, has one unpaired electron in outer 4pz orbital. Now, if you have inner orbitals and outer orbitals and unpaired electron is present in the outer orbital, now such electron can be easily donated and it should immediately form a complex CuNH3 4 times 3 positive by losing an electron. But such conversion never takes place. We will try to explain this particular last drawback of valence bond theory in details. Consider this complex CuNH3 4 times 2 positive. Now, this Cu is having electronic configuration 3d94s2. In plus 2 oxidation state, this 4s electrons are gone and now it is a 3d9 configuration. So there is an unpaired electron in 3d. It's quite obvious that you can have unpaired electron in the inner orbitals. Now if it undergoes sp3 hybridization, since there is no availability of vacant orbital over here, it cannot undergo sp2 hybridization and it will undergo sp3 hybridization. But if it undergoes sp3 hybridization, the expected geometry is tetrahedral. But it is observed that the actual geometry is not tetrahedral even if the complex is paramagnetic in nature. Since it is paramagnetic, it means that there is going to be one unpaired electron. But the geometry is not tetrahedral, but it is a square planar complex. It clearly indicates that it has to have dsp2 hybridization, and for that this orbital is to be evacuated. Now there is no vacancy on left side, so electron has to excite from here to 4pz, so that a vacancy is created in the d orbital. Hence, what it can undergo is this type of hybridization, electron jumping from 3d to 4p. Now unpaired electron is present, thereby the complex is paramagnetic and the hybridization is dsp2. It means that now the complex is having a geometry which is square planar. But in such case, this electron should be easily donated by the complex because it is on outside, or it is a electron in, we can say, in the excited state. So this should be easily donated and thereby it should form a complex with +3 oxidation state, which is never formed by this copper tetramine complex. Hence, this is the important drawback of valence bond theory. Now we will discuss some typical questions based on valence bond theory. The first question is, why FeCN6 4 negative is diamagnetic while FeF6 4 negative is paramagnetic? Now consider what is the difference between the two. If we see Fe in both the cases is in +2 oxidation state. So difference is in the nature of ligand. So in case of cyanide ligand, which is a strong ligand, it will make the electrons from 3d to undergo pairing over here. And since it is a strong ligand, the pairing will take place leading to d2sp3 type of hybridization forming inner orbital complex. Whereas in case of FeF6, the ligand is fluoride ligand and this fluoride is a weak ligand. And since it's a weak ligand, it will not disturb these 4d electrons and it will form outer orbital complex by using sp3d2 hybridization. So now the d orbitals which are used are not from 3d but from 4d. As a result, the complex formed will be paramagnetic because it has got unpaired electron in the complex. So because of the 4 unpaired electron, it will be strongly paramagnetic in nature, whereas FeCN6 4 negative will be diamagnetic in nature. Take another question. Why CONH3 6 3 positive is diamagnetic while COF6 3 negative is paramagnetic? Again similar type of question. Again both of them are D6 systems and this is going to be a question in D6 system. If the ligand is strong like amine, then the hybridization is D2sp3 and the complex is not having any unpaired electron, hence it is diamagnetic. While COF6, the ligand is weak. As a result, the complex is formed by sp3d2 hybridization. Thereby, the complex is having 4 unpaired electrons and it is paramagnetic in nature. One more question. Why FeCN6 4 minus is diamagnetic while FeCN6 3 minus is paramagnetic in nature? Now you can see that both the ligands are same. What is the difference? The difference is in the oxidation state of the metal ion. FeCN6 4 negative has Fe in +2 oxidation state, FeCN6 3 negative is Fe in +3 oxidation state. In case of FeCN6 4 negative, you can see that both of them are going to be inner orbital complexes with D2sp3 hybridization because ligand is strong. Cyanide is a very strong ligand. As a result, it evacuates the two orbitals from 3D subshell. As a result, this D2sp3 hybridization can take place in both of them. But in this case, the Fe is in +2 oxidation state, so it is a D6 system, whereas Fe +3 is a D5 system. And in case of D5, there is one unpaired electron, whereas in D6, there is no unpaired electron. As a result, this FeCN6 3 negative is paramagnetic in nature. Take one more question where the nature of ligand is actually affecting the geometry of the complex. We have already discussed this thing. NiCl4 2 negative is tetrahedral, while NiCN4 2 negative is square planar complex. Now in this case, NiCl4 2 negative, the chloride is a weak ligand, so it forms outer orbital complex with sp3 hybridization, and since the hybridization is sp3, the geometry will be tetrahedral. In case of NiCN4, cyanide is a strong ligand, so it makes this electron undergo pairing in the 3D subshell, thereby undergoing dsp2 hybridization. And since in case of NiCl4 sp3 hybridization, it is tetrahedral, in this case it is dsp2 hybridization, it is square planar. Also, in case of NiCl4, there are two unpaired electrons, so it is paramagnetic. In this case, there is no unpaired electron, and so it is diamagnetic in nature. Consider one more question. Why NiCN4 2 negative is square planar while NiCO4 is tetrahedral? Now we know that both cyanide as well as carbonyl, they are strong field ligands, and so it is expected that both of them should make the electrons undergo pairing in 3D subshell. Now in case of NiCN4 2 negative, nickel is in +2 oxidation state, so the two electrons from 4s are lost. Hence, there is a pairing of electron within 3D, thereby vacating one of the 3D orbitals and followed by dsp2 hybridization. And since the hybridization is dsp2, the complex has square planar geometry. But in case of NiCO4, there is nickel in 0 oxidation state, and since it is 0 oxidation state, these two electrons remain over there. Since carbonyl is a strong field ligand, it will make these two electrons to pair up in the 3D subshell. As a result, now you have 4s as vacated and 4p empty orbitals. They undergo sp3 hybridization, and as a result of sp3 hybridization, the geometry is tetrahedral. To summarize the topic, valence bond theory explains formation of complex on the basis of hybridization concept. The geometry of the complex depends on type of hybridization. If the coordination number is 6, then D1, D2, D3 configuration leads to D2sp3 hybridization forming inner orbital complex. D7, D8, D9 and D10 is always an outer orbital complex with sp3 D2 hybridization. D4, D5, D6 configuration can lead to sp3 D2 hybridization for weak ligands and D2 sp3 hybridization for strong ligand. So inner as well as outer orbital complex are formed. In case of coordination number 4, if the hybridization is sp3, the geometry is tetrahedral. If the hybridization is dsp2, the geometry is square planar. Although valence bond theory explains geometries on the basis of hybridization, It fails to explain many properties and important property of absorption spectra of complex. About in this lecture, we will continue in our lecture number 3. Thank you.